I'm here with David Higgins, the Director of Colliers Gold Coast. Mate, thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk with us. What's the difference, when it comes to, marketing a major project like this compared to a more boutique sort of style one?
Mike, there's a lot more things that go into a major project. Like generally there's a lot more choice in apartments, styles, floor plates, product mix. So getting the product mix, especially when doing a multi-tower, it's very important that you do spend the time on each of the apartment types to get that product right for your buyer. You've also got your amenity, you've got more retail, so you've got more of everything. And it does take time to ensure that when you bring projects of a larger scale to market, that you do the time to make sure that they meet that the market's looking for.
And were you working with the developer fairly on in the piece? Because obviously there's a lot to this project in terms of, there's the retail component, you've got the resi bit. How do you kind of collaborate with the developer?
Mike, the secret to good projects is actually how you set them for the market. And Iris Capital, Sam Arnaud, who's the Chief Executive Officer and owner of Iris, empowered his team of consultants, including DBI Architects, Colliers International, Eastview, and a range of other team members to ensure that the product that we brought to the market certainly delivered across the quality, design, value, amenity, and the offering. So a lot of that input goes in early. So we did work very collaboratively, especially with interior design and the architects, to ensure that those product for what we do, which is selling the apartments, really did tick all the boxes for our buyers when we brought it to market.
So, developers out there right now on the Gold Coast that are sitting on sites, uncertain about the current state of the market, what's happening later this year. What's your advice to them?
Look, it is a very testing time for the development industry. We've had an unprecedented boom across southeast Queensland, especially on the Gold Coast, which has been driven by the interstate migration, very, very strong buyer demand from southern buyers, people looking for that coastal lifestyle. So we've gone through an incredible period of sales. So I call the market's gone from nuts back to normal now. So we're back to what it was pre-COVID. So it's back to dealing with real buyers on real projects in good locations that are funded, approved, and they've got a builder. Those projects that don't meet those criteria are really going to struggle, in my opinion, to deliver. So my advice to developers is make sure that, and a lot of them know this, that the big key is making sure that their fundamentals, their building, their funding, and their pre-sales are all in order, that they can get their projects underway. But it is a testing time for developers generally.
We've been working together now in V&A for over 12 months since the project launched, and you guys are certainly doing something right. It's been one of the most popular projects, not only in Queensland but nationally. What we've seen is just a huge increase in the New South Wales market looking into Queensland, and particularly at V&A and the Gold Coast. I think the price discrepancy between the New South Wales market and Queensland is just really attracting more and more buyers that kind of want to shift to a more coastal kind of lifestyle. And I think, as you say, they're attracted to good price, good fundamentals, a strong track record with a good developer that people know and can trust, and then having a great team assembled is also, one of the keys to success.
It's true, Mike, and furthermore to that, the first thing they look for before they go through that checklist is the location. And Broadbeach is definitely known as probably the most walkable beachside location on the Gold Coast, with amenity, infrastructure, shop, light rail, convention, dining and bars, supermarkets and surf club. So it's got all that amenity built in. So buyers generally gravitate to those projects that are sitting in the right locations. And then they go through the list about that you just went through, which is very right. Quality developer, quality sponsor, how financial, have they done it before? What's their credibility? So that's the sort of thing that we bring to the table with V&A, and there's no surprise, with nearly $400 million in pre-sales now. It's an enormous sales achievement, and whilst we're looking to continue our sales program, the buyers continue to come in and validate V&A with purchasing decisions by choosing to buy on the project.
So we've seen a bit of a change in terms of the buyer mix over the past 12 months, particularly in New South Wales, for example, where, there was obviously some incentives from the government for the first home buyers. We saw that in our data quite quickly. Investors, there's kind of seems to be, some kind of talk for them come back with increases in rental prices. From what you're looking at, how do you see the buyer mix evolving over the next 12 months here in the Gold Coast?
Well, the Gold Coast has the last 18 months, it's been 90% end users, owner occupiers. Unlike previous markets where it's been driven by investors, this has been driven by end users. Totally unprecedented for the Gold Coast. So those projects that could tick the boxes with the quality offering, the size of the product, the location, and the amenity have done very well in sales. What's changed in the last 12 months is there's probably a more normal sort of inquiry for that end user product, but the investors are certainly starting to put their hand up and have a look around. They know that the Gold Coast has got incredibly low vacancy rates, very, very strong rental returns. So the investors are saying, well, if it's a strong rental market and there's a low vacancy rate, where would I buy? So they're looking at our project, the Tall project, which is Victoria, which has got that investor flavour to it, where they can short-term, long-term rent it, they can live in it, they can lock it up. So there's incredible flexibility with the Victoria Tower as opposed to Albert, which is much more a residential-only building. So we cover off on that. So we're seeing the investors coming back. We don't get many first home buyers in a project of this because it's really Broadbeach and quite a high-quality offering. So we kind of miss the first home buyers, but we are certainly seeing also a hybrid buyer, people bringing forward their purchasing decision from Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane, looking to buy now with the future that they'll rent it, but potentially in the long term, use it for themselves as a residence. So that means they'll probably buy a larger 2-bedder or a larger 3-bedder or a sky home that meets those requirements.
David, I appreciate you taking the time to catch up with me, mate. Certainly you guys are doing an awesome job. We feel privileged to be part of the V&A project, and thanks for sharing some tips. I'm sure the developers will find that very useful. Thanks, mate.
We appreciate Urban's support and look forward to it ongoing. Thanks, Mike.
Cheers, mate.